Colorado murder trial of Alan Andrade is being closely watched. He is accused of killing Angie Zapata, a transgender female, last July. Now, the defense concedes Andrade is the killer, so the question is, what level of homicide is it? First-degree murder or something else? Testimony Friday got very emotional, and many activists are watching this hate crime case very closely. In Session has been covering this dramatic trial, and correspondent Beth Karras joins us live now with the very latest. Beth, wow, this case is going quickly. Do bring us up to speed.
Good afternoon, Namwa. Well, this is day 3 of the testimony in the trial, and already 27 witnesses have testified. We're in a lunch break right now here in the Mountain Time Zone in Greeley, Colorado. That 27th witness will be back on the stand after lunch. Last Friday, those emotional witnesses you're talking about were family and friends of Angie Zapata, who talked about, two sisters, finding her bludgeoned and lifeless body on July 17th of last year in her apartment here in Greeley, Colorado. Other family and friends were called to basically establish a timeline when their last contact with Angie Zapata was, because the prosecution needs to show that she died sometime in the early morning hours of July 17th. That, at least, is their theory, that Angie Zapata was with the defendant, Alan Andrade, for a couple of days before she was killed. And the prosecution says he didn't just learn that she was biologically a male after spending at least a day and a half, 2 days with her, and then fly into a rage and kill her, that he knew at least for 36 hours before the murder occurred. That's the prosecution's position. The defense says no. He did not have confirmation until just before the killing happened, and he flew into a rage. And while they're not saying, find me not guilty, they are saying that it mitigates, as you just said, his level of criminal responsibility. He was provoked, understandably so, they say. Anyone would be in his shoes. So that will be the question for the jury. And last Friday, when the defense lawyers, there were 2 of them, were taking turns cross-examining these friends and family, they kept referring to Angie Zapata by her birth name. She never changed her name legally, which was Justin. And they used the male pronoun to refer to Angie Zapata. And these witnesses would very assertively respond with Angie and she and her. So it was a little battle, a little challenge between the defense lawyers and the witnesses, highlighting the issue in the case.
Yeah, I would imagine there's been a lot of emotion having these family members on the stand.
Yes, a lot of emotion, and understandably so, especially for the 2 sisters who found Angie Zapata's beaten body. And we heard from the coroner, the deputy coroner who did the autopsy today. He was the first witness today. And he talked about how fractured, in multiple places, Angie Zapata's skull was, and the bruises to the face. Very little bruising elsewhere on the body, a few superficial scratches on her hand. This man, Andrade, focused on the head and was just bludgeoning the head. Now, he confessed to using a fire extinguisher as well as his fists. That was missing from the apartment when the police got there. And his confession has been suppressed. So the jury's not going to hear that he told the police 2 weeks later when he got arrested that he admitted to the killing. Says when he got the confirmation she was biologically a male, he just flew into a rage, couldn't control himself, and used a fire extinguisher. A fire extinguisher was recovered on a median in a highway, outside of Greeley, close, not far from the scene, but it wasn't recovered for a couple of months. But it's exactly like the one that is missing from the apartment. So the prosecution, of course, wants the jury to believe that's what was used to cause the injuries, but the jury won't know that he actually admitted to using a fire extinguisher and just pummeling her head.
Oh my goodness, what details. All right, Beth, bring us right up to date. Who is on the witness stand right now? I know you said they're in a break, but who has been or who is about to be?
Well, her name is Angie Tyree, and she is the ex-girlfriend of the defendant. He was living with her at the time of the murder. According to her, he would stay there 5-6 days a week. Occasionally he'd be gone for a night, and he was indeed gone on July 15th. Now, this murder occurs the night of the July 16th into the 17th. She says on the stand, she's a prosecution witness, that she's still in love with him, that she gets a letter from him about once a week because he's been incarcerated since July 30th, the date he was arrested. Her testimony is not finished. Just before this break, the prosecution produced a letter from early July, which is before the murders, where she expresses how she feels about him, and he had been dating another woman and she feels so hurt, etc. And I don't know if they're going to try to introduce it. It hasn't been introduced before the jury, but it's been described. Anyway, here she is, kind of torn, prosecution witness testifying against him. She admits she still loves him. He is not looking at her. He has his head down. He's looking anywhere but at Angie Tyree, his ex-girlfriend.